My name's Hutch. I make videos and put them on the internet, and today is Friday, which means it's another episode of Quality Time with Hutch. I've asked OpTic Hitch to come on and have a conversation because at least once a day I see a comment either on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter or on Twitch that I am Hitch. Someone calls me Hitch or someone calls him Hutch. So let's just clear that up. Let's just clear the air. Sit back, relax, enjoy the conversation.
What's up, you guys? My name is Hutch, and at least once, probably on every video, I don't know if you see comments in your videos, but I get someone mistaking me for you, which is you are OpTic Hitch.
Yes.
So I decided to, I think it's just inevitable that we would have to just get down or sit down and have a conversation.
Get this over with.
Yeah. do you get those tweets? Do you get those comments?
I think for about like 5 years now, I've gotten those comments.
People think
because when I started, you had already owned YouTube for a few years, so everyone's like, "Stop trying to be Hutch with your name," and I'm like, "That's not really how it happened." But
they didn't actually say that, did they?
Yeah, all the time.
Oh wow!
And then people would come up to me at events too and say, "Oh, what's up, Hutch?" And I'm like, "Nope, wrong one."
I haven't been called Hitch IRL yet, but eventually it's got to happen someday. So yeah, I don't know much about you, so I was just curious, like, how did you get it's true. How'd you get your start in this whole, how did you get linked up with the OpTic guys in the first place?
Well, I would say about 4 years ago or something like that. 3 years ago, I can't even remember. I was going to school full time, and basically school wasn't for me. I know a lot of people say that, but I just couldn't really focus, couldn't really get like motivated for many things.
What were you studying when you went?
I was studying kinesiology, and then I transferred to a different school, and my major was psychology then. And then I was just like kind of going through some stuff, and I just couldn't get motivated, didn't really know what the future held for me. And then I watched this documentary on the esports Super Smash Brothers scene, and it was really well made, and it kind of got me like interested in that scene. And then I was like, man, this is like one of the best videos I've ever seen. So I bet you I could do something like this for the Call of Duty community as far as competitive. And so I just used some birthday money to go up to an event and borrowed a camera, and took my best friend with me who's a photographer, and we just kind of threw ourselves at the community, and I started with videos, he started with photography, and then from there on I just worked my way through the scene, and eventually found, like, I guess, like, obviously I'd been a big OpTic fan for a few years. And so that was always the ultimate goal. Didn't know if it was really attainable, but yeah, I mean, here we are.
I forgot to say, like, just for anybody who might be watching this who has no idea what you do for the team, like, what's your official position there? What's your day-to-day look like?
I basically babysit Hex all day.
Yeah.
As do you, pretty much.
As does Jude. He's got a lot of handlers. He's got a lot of people reining him in. Yeah.
But no, I got brought on to basically run the OpTic Nation channel because it had been super alive and booming at one point with the whole sniping community, and then once that went away, then that channel kind of became like I don't want to say useless, but it
degraded a little bit just because it was inactive, because the focus had become more on the professional side of OpTic.
Yeah. And their individual personalities.
But then you guys kind of turned it around again, and now you have this sort of regular schedule of videos going up over there. And do you edit all those videos?
I would say I used to edit all of them, but now I would say I edit probably like 80% of the videos that go up on Nation.
Do they give you any days off?
Yeah, I mean, I have days off on the Nation side of things, but I mean, you're pretty much, whenever you're doing content, as you probably know, you're probably always just thinking of different ideas and different content that you can make. So I don't know if I've ever had a day off per se.
My girlfriend gets upset sometimes because, like, we'll be out and about, like, we'll go to a AREN fair and we'll be walking around, and then I'll just think, like, some idea for a video will pop into my head, and I'll just start talking about that, or I'll start talking about some idea that worked before, and just gets old after a while. But it's you're right though. It's like once you're plugged into the scene, it's really tricky to unplug sometimes, just because because it's fun too. You know, I think that's what the one of the big reasons is because it's a fun job. You just kind of want to think about it all the time and how to make it better.
Yeah, you don't really ever clock out in whenever you're doing YouTube. Just always thinking, even if you are relaxing, watching like a TV show, like it's still in the back of your mind somewhere.
So how exactly did you get linked up with Hector now? You said you met him through somebody else?
Yeah, so I worked with UMG for a few events because that's the event that I just went up there with the birthday money. Worked for them for a few events, and then I got picked up by GFuel, and I worked a few events for them, and then Hector had the idea to start something called OpTic Intel, which was going to be like a news outlet. I don't know if you know what Decerto is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically what that like OpTic Intel turned into Decerto or merged with them, and so that's basically what I did for a few. Yeah, I think I did that for a year. And just that was Hector's idea, and so he just came to me when I was with GFuel, and he was like, "Look, are you interested in this?" And I was.
Does that stuff work, GFuel? Does it actually give you energy?
I don't even know if I can talk about this. I don't know. I honestly haven't had it in a very, very long time, so I couldn't even tell you.
I've never tried it. I mean, it could. I have no idea. There's a lot of people saying it does, so I was just curious. Right. So yeah, you got linked up with Hector through that whole Decerto merger thing and through UMG, and then how did you become like? Because you're like officially like kind of like a core member of that squad these days. You know, you got your face in like everybody's tweets and everybody's videos and stuff. Everybody seems to know who you are. So like you became sort of part of the family. Like how did it go from you not interning? I don't know if you were interning for the OpTic Intel thing or if that was a different thing, but how did you go from that to, okay, now I'm a part of this thing?
Yeah. Well, basically, I didn't know. It got to a point, OpTic Intel was super fun, but it got to a point where I didn't know what the future was going to hold for that. And I was, at this point I had dropped out of college. I was working full time just to pursue this. And I didn't know, I just didn't know if it was going to, like, if anything was going to come out of it. Yeah. And, I got a few offers from other esports organizations, but OpTic had always been. I already had a foot in the door with OpTic, and it had always been the main goal. So I was just constantly denying everybody, and then I finally was like, man, I have to figure out a way to make this happen for myself. I can't just wait around and hope that Hex just says, hey, let's make you an official member or something.
Squeaky
like
wheel
that.
gets the grease.
Yeah.
Or so they say.
Yeah. Or so they say. So then I basically asked Hex if he'd be interested, because I knew about the house. He had told me about the house that we were moving into, the house that we're currently in, and I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to start like a documentary series, basically relating it all the way back to the Smash video that I had originally gotten into the scene. And I was like, we could do something like that, like a weekly documentary series about the organization as a whole, the house and the move and everything. And,
you sneaky devil. You got in there.
Yeah. So we had one extra room in the house, which Hex was going to use as his office. And he said, actually, I really like that idea. We have one extra room. It's going to be my office, but we can turn it into a bedroom.
Did you just like shit your pants on the spot, or what? Did you play it cool, or did you like audibly say like, yeah?
Oh, I played it cool on Skype. I was on Skype with him, and I brought up the idea, and he said, I actually really like that idea. We're going to make that happen. I'm going to talk to the guys, make sure they're okay with you moving in, and then we're going to make that happen. And then he immediately said, all right, man, but I gotta head out. I got another meeting. And then he got off of Skype. And so I just sat there staring at my computer, and I was like, I don't know what just happened. But so
and where were you living at the time?
I was living in an apartment by myself. It was a apartment that was one bedroom and a bath, and it was $350 a month. And
wait, what state were you living? Was this in Illinois?
No, North Carolina.
Oh, so this is like a big shift for you.
Oh yeah, it was And I don't think Hector knew how much of a shift it was because he thought I could just pick up and leave, but I had to like close out my like what is it, lease or what? I don't even know how I even got out. I basically, because everyone else pretty much lived at home, and so they could just pick up and go whenever. But I had to quit my job, put in my 2 week notice, and then figure out what to do in my apartment and all that. And so
where were you working at the time?
Walgreens.
So you were working at Walgreens and then moonlighting as a sort of like what was your position? What would you say your position was before? Editorial? Yeah.
I originally got on and just did video work, and then I eventually got on camera and started like giving update videos and stuff like that. And then there was some like falling out with the actual like organization, like the actual structure of OpTic Intel.
Yeah.
And so people were leaving and it was just chaos. And so then at that point I was like, Hex, I'm just going to take OpTic Intel and run with it. And so at that point I just kind of ran. So I kind of ran OpTic Intel for like 8 or 9 months. So it started, I was just a member, and then it turned into me basically running the whole thing. So
then he tells you on a Skype call, look, I'm going to make this happen. And you go through all the process of putting your 2 weeks in and figuring out a way to get out of your lease. And then, so like, walk me through like, what was that first like week like for you? What was did you go through a little bit of shock at first? Like, wow, this is my life now. I'm living in this house. Was it the same house that you're in now, or was it the first house that they were in?
No, when I came up here, I drove up here. It was like a 13-hour drive. I drove up here and slept at the old house for 2 days, and then that next day we moved in here. So I've basically just been at this house the whole time.
So what was that first week like? That must have been quite a...
Oh, dude. The first week at this house was crazy. Like, it was just an empty house. All the guys were streaming and, like, practicing, because that was also the same week that I came up here was also the same week that Black Ops 3 came out. So everybody was just kind of head down and grinding. And we only had 2 teams at the time. We only had the COD team and the Halo team, so there was not like a lot to talk about. So I basically just worked all the time, and I was a fresh face in the house. So that's when I started like a daily vlogging, and got called a Casey Neistat impersonator 100 times a day. And but people seem to really enjoy my content just because I was like the freshest face in the house, and they wanted to see like a behind the scenes look at everything. And so walking around the house that first week, I like, it would hit me probably, like 20 times a day, where I was just like, I can't believe like this is actually happening.
Yeah.
And everybody else was just business as usual. So it's weird to think about how different my mentality was back then.
A lot can change in just a little bit of time too.
Oh, for sure.
So how did you get? So then you started Vision Up, and you started up these other projects. Like, how did these projects come to be? And do you find it more annoying or flattering that you get bugged so much to put out a new episode of Vision like every 3 days?
It depends on what mood I'm in.
Sure.
A lot of times it is flattering, just because, I think about how, if I watch a TV show and I just want to see a new episode, and I'm constantly thinking in the back of my mind, oh my God, I wish the new season of Suits would come out, and I wish they would stop waiting around.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand it from that aspect, but then also it's just me. Like, there's not a production team. There's nobody else helping planning. There's nobody else helping shooting.
How long does it take you to edit those things?
It depends.
You gotta scrub through like a bunch of footage, right?
Yeah. It would be a lot easier if I just had everything ready, but I have to, I download the VODs from all the tournaments, and I organize all the footage, like the behind the scenes footage, and then I shoot the interviews, and then I color correct the interviews, export them, and it is like a pretty big, I guess, project. And I guess that's why you don't see many other teams doing it. Like a lot of teams, a lot of organizations have documentary series, but not a lot of them put them out as much as we have. I mean, obviously we've had a pretty rough month and a half lately, but as far as like the first and second and first half of the third season of Vision. Like, it's been pretty consistent.
And so, yeah, I guess my next question would be like, can you talk a little bit about how your life is these days? Like, is it you know, how much of a grind is your life? Like, how many hours a day are you putting into this whole thing?
It all just depends what's going on. I would say over the past like 3 weeks, it hasn't been as busy, but we haven't really had that many events, and if we had events, we like they've been overseas, and myself or AREN haven't been able to go over there.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of like those are the weeks that stress me out the most, because I know people are going to expect like a standard that I just know I'm not going to be able to give them, because I wasn't there to shoot the event. Like, I have to focus on, or I have to bank on other people's footage, or just rip VODs and focus on interviews.
And you're doing your own Twitch and YouTube too. So you got like your little community that you're trying to build over there, and then you got your day job too. So
right.
Yeah, that's a lot on your plate, man. I watched those episodes of Vision. I'm like, man, that would have taken me, I think, probably 25 hours to cut that thing. And then how many countless hours putting it all together. Yeah,
it's definitely it definitely burned me out at one point, especially when I was doing daily vlogs. And then as I was doing daily vlogs, I got a computer to start streaming, and then of course you build a community that way. I mean, obviously, as you know, like you have people that just love coming to your stream every day and hanging out, and if you're not streaming, they're constantly talking or like tweeting you, asking you if you will stream. So at one point I was doing Vision and the podcast and Smooth Competition on the Nation channel, then I was daily vlogging, and then I was streaming on top of it, and it'll burn you out really, really quick if you're not careful.
You'll just wake up one day just sorry, my voice is kind of all kinds of messed up today. You'll just wake up some days just cranky as shit. You don't know why. Like, that's kind of like the biggest, I think, telltale sign of burnout, is just kind of being pissed off and irritable in a general sense. It's the worst, man. And then you gotta step back for a few days, splash some water on your face,
or a few years, right?
Well, I mean, I think I stepped back collectively for like a little less than a year, and
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have gone back, I wouldn't do that now, never in a million years.
Yeah.
But back then it felt like I had like nothing, like no gas left whatsoever. So it wasn't even a matter of like laziness or anything like that. It was just like I felt like incapable of doing that. And if you don't, like, that's the thing though, like if you just, I talk about this a lot with people that come on to the show, but if you don't make some time for yourself and keep something sacred just for you, then I think there's some adverse effects that you'll run into in the long run if you do that for too long. But you have the benefit too of like working in a creative environment. Like, you're surrounded by a lot of your friends too, so I imagine that like helps you stay grounded. Like, being in that kind of creative environment does, it helps make it seem less grindy and more fun when you're doing it with your friends.
Yeah, and we definitely go through waves as a house. I mean, as anybody who's a fan of our content, like, you can just tell some weeks we're killing it with, Bose is uploading three bangers a week, and Nick is killing it on YouTube, and that just makes everybody in a more creative and a better mood. And then you have weeks where, I don't know, it's just not there. Like, the ideas aren't hitting, or the motivation isn't there, and so you kind of just go through waves, I guess, as content creators.
Would you say that you guys are more competitive with each other or more supportive of each other? Like, is Flame Sword's victory your victory too, or is there a little bit of rivalry there as well?
There's absolutely no rivalry in this house.
That's good.
I would say
that's good to hear.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, obviously you've heard this. There's stories of different team houses in the past, no matter what organization, where there are rivalries within the house, and I would say we're really lucky to not have anything like that right now.
Yeah, that was a thing that happened. I remember Scump almost left the team like 4 years ago or something like that. I think he mentioned that there was a competitive vibe in the house. So it's good that it's morphed over time, and because I think like cooperation is going to help you out more in the long run than competition does. That's not to say that like you can look at a cool video that one of your friends did and think to yourself, oh, that's cool. Like, that's something I want to do too. But there's a fine line between that and like this motherfucker stole my idea, or like some
Yeah.
people take it a little too far. And but yeah, that's good to hear that you guys don't go down that road too much. So what games are you playing these days?
What games am I playing?
Is it just Modern Warfare Remastered, or are you a variety streamer?
I mean, I don't really. I have like a group of people that I usually play with. Obviously, we've been trying to get a show match against you guys for a while now, but
you got to be the one to reach out to them, man, because they're not going to.
Yeah.
I am down every night of the week to scrim against any team. I don't care if we lose; like it's all good. Right. Not everybody on the team feels the same way, so you got to be the one to reach out to Hector.
Yeah, and it's hard with like scheduling with the guys in it, because one of them's got a full-time business that he's working with and he's married, and the other one works full-time, and so
yeah, it's rough. It's
hard to get everybody on the same page scheduling wise, but yeah, as far as games, I feel like we're in kind of a lackluster I don't know if it's just the games that I like there's none out right now. Like I enjoy
it's
H1
definitely the drought.
Times.
We're in the drought for sure. It's like sometimes
really
sometimes you'll get like 2 to 4 like AAA really awesome games during the summertime, and then you get them all like at the end of the year. So it's like this is definitely typically the time of year where it's like you've been playing the newest COD for the last 6 months. Maybe you're getting a little burnt out on it, and you got to kind of like get creative and figure out ways to have fun with video games during the slow times. H1 is a lot of fun though. I play that game quite a bit.
Oh, do you? I didn't know you did.
Yeah, I'm not very good, but I dig it. It's good. It's good stuff. I'm playing with Nanners like right after this is done. So. Oh
wow.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
So what's next on the horizon here for Hitch then?
For Hitch,
do you think in terms of 2 years or like 3 years or 2 months or 5 years or 10 years? Like, where's your head at?
As far as like my future, like my personal future?
Yeah.
I mean, people always ask if I'm eventually just gonna do something outside of OpTic, and obviously not my entire life. I'm not just gonna be focused 100% on OpTic. I mean, that I know of, it could happen, but I don't think I'm ever gonna like technically leave OpTic or do anything like that. Like I worked super hard and I spent a lot of time in my life and went through a lot of stuff in order to get here. So I have a unique, I guess, respect for the organization, especially since it just changed my life in the way that it has. So I think in the future, I just want to continue to polish up like what I've, I guess, accomplished already, and then also get to a point where I can focus more on bigger projects and continue just to entertain and tell different stories in an entertaining way, I guess.
The thing, it's tricky with like YouTube and streaming. It's kind of tricky because like you want to be flexible because this industry in this market, whatever this is constantly changing. Like every year there's some seismic shift with either, some website might change their platform all around, and it changes the way that everybody makes videos or whatever. But there's like countless examples of that happening. So it's like you want to set kind of like, at least that's what I've done, is set sort of general goals and a wish list of things that I want to get done in the next few years, but then also kind of be like, let yourself stay in the present and see what's happening right there in the moment, and let that kind of lead you to adapt to it. You know what I mean? I don't know if that got too obscure there, but
I mean, there's definitely different waves that YouTube has gone through. Like I mean, coming from viewing YouTube content as a fan for 4 or 5 years, and then transitioning into making the content, I have like a different, I guess, a different respect for content creators, and obviously I understand what it's like as a fan as well. So I try to find a happy medium sometimes, but it doesn't always work.
Well, you seem like you're doing all right, man. You guys look like you're always having fun over there, which is cool.
It's definitely fun. If not anything, it is fun.
Well, it's good talking to you. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. You're a busy man.
Alrighty.
And but pinch the young Pamajuan.
I definitely will.
The young olive-skinned nubile Pamajuan. Pinch him for me and tell him that Uncle Hutch says hi. That's creepy. Don't say that. Just tell him I say what up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Good talking to you, man. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Thank you.